sent the message at 20:47 while he slept beside me. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type on his phone, but the rage kept them steady enough. 3 months of suspicion, 3 months of watching him smile at his screen and slip into the bathroom to text someone. 3 months of feeling like I was losing my mind while he insisted everything was fine. Her name was Dr. Sarah Chen. The texts were careful, professional even, but I knew better. I had learned to read between the lines. Looking forward to our session Thursday. You made real progress today. Sounded too personal, too warm. And the one that broke me. I'm proud of how far you've come. Who says that to a patient? Who texts their therapist at 11 p.m.? The text I sent her was short, cruel. I told her exactly what I thought of women who prey on vulnerable men, who use their power to manipulate people who trust them. I called her a homewrecker. I told her I knew what she was doing, that I had proof, and that I would make sure everyone knew what kind of therapist she really was. I hit send and put his phone back on the nightstand. Jake and I had been together for 4 years. We got engaged last Christmas in front of my entire family. His parents cried. My mom had already started planning the wedding. We had a deposit on a venue, invitations designed, a whole future mapped out in Pinterest boards and shared Google calendars. But something had changed 6 months ago. He became distant, distracted. He started these weekly appointments he wouldn't talk about. When I asked where he went on Thursday evenings, he got defensive, told me I was being controlling, that he needed space. That's what people ask for when they're making room for someone else. My best friend Kayla had been the one to plant the seed. We were having wine at her place when I mentioned the mysterious appointments. She leaned in close, her eyes wide with concern, and said what I had been too afraid to think. Babe, he's definitely cheating. Guys don't just suddenly need privacy like that unless they're hiding something. She helped me figure out his phone password. It took us 3 tries but we got in, and there was Dr. Chen with dozens of messages that seemed too familiar, too warm, too much. I didn't sleep after sending that message. I lay there watching the ceiling, my heart pounding, feeling sick and vindicated and terrified all at once. I had done the right thing. I had protected myself. I had called her out. When Jake woke up, his phone was already buzzing. 6 missed calls, all from Dr. Chen. He grabbed his phone and his face went completely white. What did you do? His voice was barely a whisper. I sat up ready to defend myself, ready to throw all his lies back in his face. I know about her, Jake. I know about Dr. Chen. I read the messages. He stared at me like I was a stranger. You went through my phone. Don't turn this around on me. You've been sneaking around for months, texting some woman at all hours, lying about where you go every Thursday. She's my therapist. The words came out flat, hollow. Dr. Chen is my therapist. I laughed, actually laughed, because it was such an obvious lie, such a predictable deflection. Right, and you just forgot to mention you started therapy. For 6 months. I didn't tell you because. He stopped, his jaw working. Because I knew you'd make it about you. Because every time I try to work on myself, you find a way to make me feel guilty for it. That stung, but I pushed through. Therapists don't text their patients at night. They don't say they're proud of them. They don't. She texts appointment reminders. She sends resources between sessions. And yeah, sometimes she checks in because I've been dealing with severe anxiety and depression, and I've been trying to get better without falling apart in front of you. The room went very quiet. You're lying. But my voice had no conviction anymore. He turned his phone toward me. The screen showed Dr. Chen's last message, sent 2 minutes ago. Jake, I just received a very disturbing message from your number in the middle of the night. We need to discuss this immediately. This is a serious breach of professional boundaries and I need to understand what happened. Please call me as soon as you're awake. Below that, he pulled up her website. Dr. Sarah Chen, licensed clinical psychologist, specializing in anxiety disorders, depression, and relationship counseling. Her photo showed a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair. Nothing like the homewrecker I had imagined. What did you send her? Jake's voice was shaking now. What did you say? I couldn't speak. My mouth had gone completely dry. He scrolled up to the message I had sent from his phone. Read it again. His hand started to tremble. You called her a predator. You threatened to report her. You said. He looked at me with something worse than anger. Disappointment. Jesus Christ, do you have any idea what you've just done? I thought. You thought wrong. You went through my phone without permission, found my private medical information, and sent an abusive message to my healthcare provider, from my number, making it look like I sent it. The reality of what I had done started to crystallize sharp and cold in my chest. Jake, I'm sorry I didn't know. You didn't ask. He stood up, started getting dressed. You didn't trust me. You didn't respect my privacy. You just assumed the worst and acted on it. Where are you going? To Dr. Chen's office. To apologize, to try to salvage the therapeutic relationship that I desperately need and that you just destroyed. It was a mistake. He stopped at the bedroom door. I've been in therapy because I've been struggling with whether I want to marry you. Because sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in this relationship and I can't figure out if it's me or if it's us. Dr. Chen has been helping me work through that, helping me figure out if I'm anxious because I have an anxiety disorder or if I'm anxious because... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Jake, I need you to leave. Go to your mom's, go to Kayla's, I don't care. But I need you out of this apartment before I get back. He left. The door clicked shut so quietly it felt like an ending. I sat on our bed, in the apartment we had furnished together, looking at the engagement ring on my finger that suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. My phone buzzed. A text from Kayla? Did you confront him? What happened? I stared at it for a long time before I replied. I made a mistake. The 3 dots appeared. Then she didn't respond. I started packing a bag, my hands numb, my brain spinning through the same thoughts on loop. I had been so sure. Kayla had been so sure. The text had seemed so suspicious. But I had never asked. I had never trusted him enough to just ask. By the time I heard his key in the lock 3 hours later, I had my bags by the door. He didn't look at me when he came in, just walked past me to the bedroom and closed the door. I heard him on the phone, his voice muffled through the wall. I caught fragments. And professional ethics violation and patient confidentiality, and I understand. When he came out, his eyes were red. Dr. Chen is referring me to another therapist. She can't continue treating me after what happened. There's been a breach of boundaries, even though I didn't send that message. Her professional ethics require her to transfer my care. I'll call her. I'll explain it was me. She knows it was you, I told her. But that doesn't change the fact that someone accessed her private communications with a patient and used that information to harass her. She has to protect herself. She has to protect her practice. Jake, please. I found a therapist I trusted. Someone who was actually helping me. And in one night, because you couldn't trust me, because you couldn't respect my privacy, you destroyed that. Do you understand what you've done? I did. I was starting to. I need time, he said. I need to figure out if I can come back from this. What does that mean? He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. A distance that felt permanent. It means I don't know if I can marry someone who would do this. Someone who would violate my privacy, invade my medical records, and attack someone who was trying to help me. All because you assumed the worst instead of asking me a single question. He took the ring box from his pocket, set it on the kitchen counter between us. I'm not saying it's over. I'm saying I need space to figure out if it should be. I left with my bags and drove to my mom's house. She took one look at my face and didn't ask questions, just made up the guest room and held me while I cried. When I finally told her what happened, she was quiet for a long time. Did you really think he was cheating? She asked. I was so sure. But did you believe it? Or did someone convince you to believe it? I thought about Kayla, about how quickly she had jumped to accusations, how she had helped me break into his phone, how she had seemed almost excited about the drama of it all. I don't know anymore. That's the problem, sweetheart. You acted without knowing. And some things, once you do them, you can't undo. I spent the next week in my childhood bedroom, watching my phone for messages that didn't come. Jake texted once, I need more time. Please respect that. I gave him time. I gave him space. I gave him everything he asked for. But I couldn't give him back what I had taken. His trust, his therapy, his certainty that the person he loved would believe in him when it mattered most. Kayla called twice, I didn't answer. On the third day I finally texted back, I need some space. What happened with Jake wasn't what we thought. She responded immediately, what do you mean? Tell me everything. I turned my phone off. The venue called about the final payment for our wedding. I told them I would call back. I never did. Jake's mom texted. Jake told us what happened. I think you both need time to work through this. We love you, honey. But we love our son too. I read it over and over, trying to understand if it was forgiveness or goodbye. 2 weeks after that night, Jake finally agreed to meet me at a coffee shop. He looked thin, exhausted, like he hadn't been sleeping. I found a new therapist, he said. It took 3 tries to find someone with availability who specializes in what I need. I lost 2 weeks of progress starting over with someone new. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix it. We sat in silence. The coffee shop hummed around us, full of people with normal problems, normal lives. I wanted to marry you, he said finally. I really did. But I don't think I can anymore. The words landed like a physical blow. Jake, please. You didn't trust me. And I don't know if I can trust you. How do I know you won't go through my things again? How do I know you won't assume the worst the next time I have a private conversation or need space? How do I build a life with someone who... He stopped, shook his head. Someone who what? Someone who thinks so little of me that they'd believe I'm capable of cheating, of lying, of using therapy as a cover for an affair. Someone who would rather believe their friend's suspicions than ask me directly. He slid the ring box across the table. I think you should keep this, sell it, save it, I don't care, but I can't. His voice cracked. I can't look at it anymore and remember how excited I was to propose. How much I loved you. How sure I was. Was? He stood up. I'm sorry. I really am. But this isn't something I can forgive my way through. Every time I look at you now I just see that message. I see you sitting in the dark, going through my phone, thinking the worst of me. And I don't know how to unsee that. He left his coffee untouched and walked out. I sat there for an hour, holding the ring box, watching people come and go with their lats and their laptops and their intact lives. When I finally went home to our apartment to get more of my things, I found that Jake had already packed most of my stuff into boxes. Neat, organized, labeled boxes, like he was trying to make it easier for me. Or maybe trying to erase me systematically, one box at a time. There was a note on top. I moved to a friend's place for a few days so you can get everything without it being awkward. Take your time. Lock the door when you're done. Leave your key on the counter. Leave your key. Not, leave the spare key. Not, we'll talk about logistics later. Leave your key. I packed the rest of my things through tears, found myself looking at the life we had built together. The bookshelf we assembled drunk on a Saturday. The couch we had argued about for 3 weeks before buying. The photos on the wall of us laughing, kissing, being people who trusted each other. I left my key on the counter next to his coffee maker. I never saw Jake again after that coffee shop meeting. He had his friends come get his stuff from my mom's garage. I heard through mutual friends that he moved to a different part of the city, that he was doing better, that he was dating someone new. I was happy for him, and devastated, both things true at the same time. The thing that haunts me isn't that I lost him, it's why I lost him. I didn't lose Jake because he cheated. I lost him because I convinced myself he was capable of it. I lost him because I let someone else's suspicions become my truth. I lost him because when faced with the choice between asking him directly and going through his phone at 2 a.m., I choose violation over trust. I hacked his phone. I sent his therapist a cruel message, and in doing so, I destroyed the thing I thought I was protecting. That's what I can't forgive myself for. Not the mistake. The choice. 3 months after Jake gave me back the ring, I started seeing a therapist of my own. Patricia Okonkwo listened to my story without judgment, taking notes in her careful handwriting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. What do you think you were really afraid of? She asked. I had expected her to tell me I had made a mistake, that I needed to work on trust, that I'd let my insecurities destroy my relationship. Instead, she asked me about fear. I was afraid he was cheating. But what were you afraid that meant about you? The question cracked something open. I started crying in her office. Ugly crying, the kind where you can't catch your breath, that I wasn't enough, that he had found someone better, that I was going to end up alone. And how did hacking his phone change that fear? It didn't. It made it real. She nodded. You created the outcome you were afraid of. That's what anxiety does sometimes. It convinces us that controlling a situation is the same as protecting ourselves. I went to therapy every week. I learned words for what I had done: invasion of privacy, breach of trust, emotional reactivity. I learned that Kayla's advice had been toxic, but that I was the one who chose to follow it. I learned that I had been anxious in my relationship long before I found those texts, and that my anxiety had convinced me that proof of betrayal would hurt less than uncertainty. I was wrong. The uncertainty would have been kinder. I tried to reach out to Dr. Chen through her practice. I wrote her a letter apologizing, explaining that I had sent that message, not Jake, that I took full responsibility, that I was deeply sorry for violating her privacy and her professional boundaries. I never heard back. I didn't expect to. But 3 weeks later, I got a short email from an address I didn't recognize. I appreciate your apology. I hope you're getting help. What you did was wrong, but I understand you were in pain. I hope you both find peace. SC. I read it 50 times, cried over it, printed it out and kept it in my journal as a reminder that I had hurt someone trying to help the person I loved. My friends started treating me differently after word got out about what happened. Not all of them, but enough. Kayla acted like nothing had changed, like she had nothing to do with it. She kept inviting me out, kept asking about Jake, kept trying to position herself as my supporter through the breakup. It took me 2 months to realize she was enjoying the drama, that she had always been the friend who loved having a front row seat to other people's chaos. When I finally told her I needed space, she turned cold instantly. Wow, so I try to help you and this is what I get. You helped me break into his phone, Kayla. You convinced me he was cheating without any real evidence. I was looking out for you. Not my fault you went psycho and texted his therapist in the middle of the night. I hung up. I blocked her number. I learned the hard way that some people aren't friends, they're just audiences looking for entertainment. Other friends were gentler but distant. I heard myself described at parties I wasn't invited to. She went through his phone and harassed his therapist. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I became a cautionary tale, a story people told about what not to do in a relationship. I deserved it. Work was awkward too. I had told a few coworkers about my engagement, shown them pictures of the venue, talked about wedding plans. Now I had to tell them it was off. Most were kind enough not to ask questions, but I saw the looks, the whispers, the way conversations stopped when I walked into the break room. I had been so public about my relationship, so proud of Jake, so sure we were couple goals. Now I was the girl who sabotaged her own engagement. I threw myself into work, into therapy, into trying to understand how I had become the person who did what I did. Dr. Oko helped me trace it back. The anxiety wasn't new. The need for control wasn't new. The fear of abandonment wasn't new. I had just never had to face them directly before. You spent 4 years with Jake proving you were worthy of love, she said during one session. You never believed you were worthy without proof. So when he started going to therapy, working on himself without including you, you interpreted that as evidence that you weren't enough. But he was just trying to get better. Yes. And you made his growth about your inadequacy. That's what we're gonna work on. I did the work. I showed up to therapy even when I didn't want to. I learned about anxious attachment and catastrophic thinking. I practiced sitting with uncertainty instead of trying to control it. I stopped checking social media for updates about Jake, mostly. I slipped a few times, saw that he had gone hiking with friends, that he looked happy, that his smile reached his eyes again. The smile I had stolen for months while I poisoned our relationship with suspicion. 6 months after our breakup, I ran into Jake's mom at the grocery store. She saw me first. I watched her face as she decided whether to approach me or pretend she hadn't seen me. She chose Mrs. Chen. I stopped. The irony of his mother having the same last name as his therapist hit me like a punch. I had never even noticed before. It was that common of a name. How are you holding up? I'm okay. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to learn from what happened. She nodded, squeezed my arm. Good, that's good. Jake is doing better too. He's healing. I'm glad. I really am. I know you are. She paused. I don't think you're a bad person. I think you made a bad choice. There's a difference. I started crying right there in the produce section. She hugged me. This woman who would have been my mother-in-law, and let me cry on her shoulder between the organic kale and the bell peppers. I miss him. I whispered. I know. But maybe that's the price. Maybe that's how you remember not to do it again. She pulled back. Looked at me with sad, kind eyes. You can't fix this one, honey. But you can make sure you don't break the next one. She left me standing there holding a basket full of groceries I didn't remember picking up. I started dating again after 8 months. Not seriously. Just coffee dates, casual dinners, trying to remember how to trust myself around someone new. The first time a guy asked me to hold his phone while he ran to the bathroom, I felt physically ill. The temptation to look was still there, a muscle memory of anxiety and control. I didn't look. I sat there holding his phone like it was a bomb, focusing on my breathing, reminding myself that trust is a choice you make every day. He came back, took his phone, never knew I had just fought a war with myself in his absence. I told him on our 3rd date what had happened with Jake. Not the details, but the basics. I violated my ex's privacy and destroyed our relationship. I'm in therapy for it. I understand if that's a deal breaker. He thought about it, then said, at least you're honest about it, and you're working on it. That's more than a lot of people do. We dated for 2 months before mutually agreeing we weren't right for each other, but it was kind and adult, and I didn't check his phone once. Progress. A year after Jake and I broke up, I got a message from him on Facebook. Just a friend request, nothing more. I stared at it for an hour before accepting. He messaged me the next day, "Hey, hope you're doing okay. No pressure to respond. Just wanted you to know I don't hate you." I cried rating it. Me. I don't deserve that, but thank you. I'm so sorry for what I did. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to be better. A Jakey, I know. My mom told me she ran into you. I'm glad you're getting help. How are you, Jakey? Better? Therapy's helping. New therapist is good. I'm learning a lot about myself. Me, I'm glad. You deserved someone who trusted you. Jakey, you deserve to trust yourself. I think that was the real problem. I read that message probably 100 times. We texted occasionally after that. Never deep conversations. Just check-ins, updates. The kind of distant friendship you maintain with someone who used to be your whole world. He told me eventually that he was seeing someone. That she was kind, that she made him laugh, that he felt safe with her. I told him I was happy for him. I meant it. He never asked if I was seeing anyone. I think he knew the answer. I was still learning how to be alone without being lonely. Still learning how to trust myself. Still learning how to sit with uncertainty without needing to control it. My mom asked me once if I regretted sending that message. Every day, I said, but I think I had to lose Jake to understand what I was really afraid of. What were you afraid of? That I wasn't enough on my own. That love was conditional and I had to constantly prove I deserved it. That if I let my guard down for a second I'd lose everything. And did you learn you were wrong? No. I looked at her. I learned I was right. I did lose everything. But not because I let my guard down, because I couldn't. The second anniversary of that night came and went. I didn't mark it, but I thought about it, about who I was at 20:47 a.m. shaking with rage and fear, convinced I was protecting myself. I think about the message I sent, the words I typed, the damage I did. I think about Dr. Chen, who had done nothing but try to help someone, and who I attacked in the cruelest way I could. I think about Jake, who loved me enough to propose and who I repaid with suspicion and violation. I think about Kayla, who gave me exactly the advice I wanted to hear and who I let lead me into destroying my own life. But mostly I think about the choice. The moment before I hit send. The moment when I could have stopped, could have asked, could have trusted. I didn't. And I've spent every day since learning to live with that choice. Dr. Okonkwo told me last month that I've made remarkable progress. That I've learned to recognize my triggers, manage my anxiety, and trust without controlling. Do you think you're ready for a serious relationship again? She asked. I don't know, maybe. But I'm not in a hurry. Why not? Because I need to be sure. I need to know that the next time I'm scared or uncertain or convinced someone is betraying me, I'll make a different choice. And if you're not sure, then I'll wait. Because I'd rather be alone than destroy someone else the way I destroyed Jake. She nodded. That's growth, maybe it is. Or maybe it's just permanent scar tissue, a reminder of what happens when you let fear make your choices. I saw Jake one more time, by accident, at a mutual friend's wedding last month. He was there with his girlfriend. She was beautiful, laughing at something he said, her hand in his. He saw me across the room. We both froze, then he smiled. A real smile. You okay? I nodded. Mouthed back, you look happy. He squeezed his girlfriend's hand and nodded. I am. I left early, not because I was heartbroken, but because I knew my presence made him uncomfortable, and I owed him the kindness of space. I drove home thinking about the life I could have had. The wedding that would have been mine. The future I destroyed because I couldn't trust the present. Some mistakes don't announce themselves. They don't arrive with sirens and warnings. They come in the middle of the night dressed up as protection, whispering that you're just taking care of yourself. And by the time you realize what you've done, it's already too late to undo it. I sent a message at 20:47 a.m. that destroyed my relationship, hurt an innocent woman and taught me the most expensive lesson of my life. Trust isn't something you withhold until someone proves they deserve it. Trust is something you give because you believe you deserve to live without constant fear. I didn't believe that then. I'm learning to believe it now. But Jake is gone. Dr. Chen transferred his care. Our engagement is over. Our future is deleted. And I'm the one who did it. Not because he betrayed me. Because I couldn't believe he wouldn't. That's the cost. That's what I live with. Not the loss itself, but knowing I caused it. Knowing that the person I was trying to protect was the person I should have been most afraid of all along. Myself. If you're reading this because you're thinking about going through your partner's phone, about checking their messages, about acting on your suspicions without asking first, please stop. Ask yourself what you're really afraid of. Then ask yourself if you trust your partner. If the answer is no, break up with them. Don't destroy them first, because some mistakes don't destroy you at once. They just make sure you'll never heal the same way again. And neither will the people you hurt along the way.